Hello guys and welcome to another mixing tutorial. Today, let's take a look at these tones on this cover of Actions Speak Louder Than Words. Awesome tones, new stuff, new techniques, new drum sound. Let's get into it. Alright, master bus processing off for the time being, except for the limiting. So drum sound, I have a new drum plugin. This is the Bobershell Signature Series Drums Pack by Room Sound. It sounds great. It sounds realistic. It sounds nice and thick. I like the way the shells feel cohesively. Very good snare options. I'm working with the cymbals. Not sure if they're my favorite thing yet, but so far very happy with this product. And yeah, different flavor. Let's get into how I mixed it. So we're going to be going from this sound to something more like this. All right. Let's turn off the drum bus processing, as I would do it only at the end. And let's go track by track. So my goal with drum mixing is that I grab every track in the drum mix and I want to put on plugins that make it sound better than what it was when I started. It may sound simple, but you got to keep that in mind. So the kick started like this. And I'm going to do this. You can hear it controlling the mid-range, boosting the highs, boosting the lows, and compression and saturation. So kick and snare have the same set of plugins. Firstly, we have an EQ to shape them. This is going to consist of a lot of high end. So that's almost 10 dB at 3K and a low end boost as well. So here is 1 dB at 56, just a very fat boost, but only 1 dB. Then, still evaluating, bro, there's going to be an EQ for some cuts on the mid-range. This is a very important one. So, kick after the shaping EQ and look at this. If you're paying attention, this makes our kick drum sound deeper because we're removing all the fluff here in the 200 region and its peripherals. Then I'm going to be playing with saturation a lot. So instead of boosting certain frequencies, after doing it with an EQ, I will be doing with saturation. FabFilter Saturn can saturate specific frequency regions, and that's what I'll be going for. So here I am saturating 100% the high end. So this is between 1K and 6K. This region I will be saturating. Big difference in the high end presence. Then a transient designer, you guys know I like this guy. Like Saturn, it works on only frequency regions specific so that you can boost the transient attack only in those regions. And my regions are below 80 for the kick and between 1.2K and 8K for the kick as well to get that snap. After that, I will shape the attack with a compressor. This SSL 30 millisecond attack sounds very good for kick and snare. And yeah, about 4 dB. Very open, flat, very squishy and controlled. So that is the kick, and the snare has the exact same plugins, just one more. That's the snare transformation. Again, the shaping EQ, 10 dB almost, at about 4K, 5K with a shelf, and the low end boost, very fat, 7 dB at 170. I'm gonna put a before and after on this one so you guys can hear how big that is. Very, very big. Then we are giving it a little bit more sizzle and shaping the mid-range once again. This is the junk we are cutting. Saturating the high end again. This time only 50%, otherwise you get a lot of sizzle. As well as the low end too. But the low end only 20%. Saturating low end is something you gotta be more careful with. Same transient designing. On snare, I'm gonna go from 20 Hertz to 250. And on the high end, I'm gonna go from 2K to 12K. Nice and snappy. Clip it. This is something I like to do on the snare because the snare doesn't need all that much transient. You can clip a bit of it off so you can bring the decay up. That's actually a lot of clipping. I still need to work on this drum sound. And the same 30 millisecond attack compression to shape the transient. Way more controlled. Open and fat, controlled. Cool. So on the toms, every tom has, except tom 1, fuck, I forgot to do it on tom 1. Every tom has an EQ to get rid of mid-range and a compressor to shape the attack to the 10 millisecond setting. Where's the tom part? Right there. If I bypass all of those, if I put them on, then they all get the same high-end boost, 10 decibels of 3K, of a shelf at 3K to get the stick attack correctly, and a 5 dB of a 270 shelf for thickness, and then they're saturated the same way. Just a little bit on the low end beneath 300 and 100% on the high end above 2K. Everything off. Fluffy boys. Everything on, sharp boys. Alright, then I like to EQ everything else on a bus because this is where the cymbals live. All of the cymbals, all of the tracks that have cymbals will go here. So this is where I can shape the cymbal signal. And that is going to be through this harshness control tool by Brainworks. It's going to get rid of a lot of whistles. This stuff that I am soloing, and this EQ as well. I am finding it hard to work with these cymbals. There's a bit of 3K there that I took off, a bit of 4K, and a harsh thing at 6. It's subtle changes, but they help. After that, the hi-hat and overhead both get this cut, so a low cut at 300, because I'm only looking for cymbal information there. These cuts are specific, not too important. Hi-hat got a little bit of compression and a little bit of removing the stuff above 14K that is very, very shiny and unnecessary. Just giving it a bit more energy with the compression. Overheads is where I need to get heavy-handed with compression to make sure the drummer is hitting hard. That's what compression on the overheads makes it sound like. Check out. Hell yeah. The limiter is to remove snare peaks and china peaks, because this china is very spiky. Where is it? Hopefully you could hear as I turn it on and off that removed the peak right out of it. Then there's our rooms, very important. So there's 3 room mics on this. It's actually 4. So there's a mono one that I'm just trashing and blending quietly. Clean, dirty. Blending very quietly to give the drum some mono image. Then the 3 actual stereo room mics, I focused one on cymbals, one on the shells, and one just for snare. And here's how I processed them. The cymbal room one has this treatment. So a boost at 8K for that shininess of the cymbals and a strategic mid-range cut. Shell room has the same strategic mid-range cut and drive. So warm tape drive from Saturn, making it sound a little bit more warm. And the snare room is where the drum part comes to life because we crush the snare. You guys know I do this. You'll see this a lot. Strategic mid-range cut just to make this stuff a little bit better. And then lol, that's funny. I then run all the rooms into the Reaper saturation plugin just because I know it makes it sound a bit louder. That's really it. Excuse me. Okay. And this is our bus processing. We're gonna clip the kick and snare signal a little bit going into a compressor. And we're gonna remove subs from the kick beneath 27 Hertz to ease the load on the master limiter. And that is this drum sound. Very awesome, very happy with it. Let's jump into bass. So bass DI enter Joel Wanasek bus glue bass. More or less the usual I do with this plugin, but I'm only using 30% of the distortion. So very, very light distortion and the usual heavy low-end compression and a little bit less heavy high-end compression. After that, our bass is giving us some more 80 harmonics. So 80, 60, 40, 80, 120, 160, all of those harmonics being boosted, and it sounds like that. You know, it's that thickness. Saturn, once again, what are we saturating? The mids, so, and the high end a little bit. So this is awesome. If you zone out a bass mid frequency and you distort it with Saturn, you get that aggressiveness of the mids that is very nice in metal. Very nice. Into some shaping. You know what I like to do with this plugin. High end, 5K of the 3K shelf, and 2 dB of the 160 shelf for the low end. to filters, nothing beneath 4K is useful, with a little bump there, and removing just a little bit of that mid-range bump. Filter at 8K, that's a bass tone. And then there's just a second track, which is the same bass tone, but the distortion is down to 10. Guitar tones is the stock SS11X. You know, I like this tone in the stock setting. Turn on the overdrive pedal and turn on the lead channel. That's all you need. I turned down the gain a little bit and put up some brightness with this, what is this called? Mid-range shift and a high end. That's it. Also the most beautiful DIs I've ever captured. Fresh strings on my mayonnaise into the Audient. Oh my god. It's hard to make it sound bad. Into filters immediately. So beneath 80 there's just sub, and beneath 12K there's a lot of fizz. Into compression for the palm mutes, because the palm mutes become very loud with the SS11 sometimes. You can see there's almost no action when there's chords, and there's like -6 dB when there's palm mutes. Then I am saturating the guitar tone again, because saturating again, but now the guitar tone, because I love this plugin. I'm trying it out on everything. So there's a little bit of low end drive, but a lot of high end drive for a bunch of fizz and excitement. I'm not sure if one is better than the other, but this one seems more exciting. Guitar compression, the most simple compressor ever, Renaissance X by Waves. Threshold, and you can see how much. You can just hear the guitars in your face more. So for leads, I switched the cabinet on this from the greenbacks to the V30. As well as boosting some mids instead of highs. That's gonna make it stand out from the main tone. Reverb. Beautiful 4 seconds at 40% mix with a big low cut. Stereo delay. Quarter notes with a little bit of modulation and a ping pong effect. And the EQ to get rid of low end beneath 150. Finally, the clean with a lot of moving parts. So I'm going to compress it before the amp. Ensuring a lot of consistency. Same cab as the rhythms, stock settings, I just turned down the bass a bunch. So that's 55% mix of an 8-second reverb with a big low cut again, 380. Half note ping pong delay sounded very good here. Filters on the EQ, so no low end beneath 200, and a big soft filter at 12,000 into more compression. Very soft one just to even stuff out. That is the mix. Let's run it through some plugins on the master bus to make it better. So Gullfoss is going to give it this magical EQ curve that Gullfoss does, trying to apply an auditory human hearing curve to our mix. Mix, please. You can watch it react to the kick drum. It doesn't boost the kick drum, but it always boosts the bass, so that gives it a nice sub balance. Mid-range magic and a constant high-end boost. Love it. Let's tuck the kick and snare in with a compressor. Yep, this guy does it nicely. No small time gives you some guitar shine. It's a magic trick. And the transformer steel is once again saturation, but like on the whole mix, but like very subtle though. Linear multiband, just a stage of frequency control. Make sure that no frequency region is way louder than the other, just to check if I'm in balance, and then I get to lower whichever ones I think are too loud. In this case, I thought the extra highs were loud. There's some cymbal sizzle there that could go. Oh my god. Bulk of the limiting work is ozone as usual. Trying to cut down on the kick and snare right there. You can see they're healthily being cut so that the rest can be brought up. And then my new trick, after ozone, the FabFilter limiter in transparent can usually buy you a little bit more gain with a different flavor than this. If I did that extra dB on this, it would sound more pumpy than doing it on this. So there you go. That is the mix, guys. A lot of new stuff, a lot of cool stuff. Hope you guys learned something. Thank you for staying as supporters, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.